it didn't say this meeting is being recorded, but it does say recording up in the corner. So we must be going, I guess. I don't know.
You just gonna edit this out?
Probably not. Let's roll.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to the Bitcoin 15. I'm your host, Peder Beckstrand. Alongside me, as always, is my co-host, Peder Christensen, Gonzo, as I call him. How are we doing today, Gonzo? How's everything in where you're at located? Good?
Frigidly cold, just like where you're located, but I'm about to make my escape to California for a business trip later today. So
good for you. Good for you. If you're listening to this, please, as always, comment, subscribe below. We would love just to get anybody's feedback, or
smash the like button.
Smash the like button. You know all the hot phrases, and you can also find out the Bitcoin price stats for the week of the 31st of January to the 7th of February in the description below. But we wanted to hit on some the kind of good, the bad, and the interesting, as kind of the format has been here at Bitcoin 15. Gonzo, I think I'm gonna shoot over to you to give us the good for the week.
Yeah. So some of the stories we saw that were good news. One that was a pretty interesting story, I thought. There was the German authorities had arrested someone, and he had been, I think, even convicted of some sort of fraud. And the fraud was that he was actually using other people's computers to mine Bitcoin for him. I saw in the story. So he was probably some sort of hacker, and because of that, he had mined 1,700 Bitcoins, but he got arrested for this. He got convicted, I'm pretty sure. And they supposedly claim that he can't access the funds anymore, but he is refusing to give up his passwords, so they are unable to seize those Bitcoin, which I thought was hilarious. And while we don't condone fraud here at the Bitcoin 15, we don't want Bitcoin to be associated with nefarious activities. Thought it was a cool story because here the government was unable to access the funds. That's the strength of the encryption of the Bitcoin network. I'll just keep touching on these quickly though. Then Cynthia Lummis, I think is her name. She's a senator from Wyoming. She's the first known senator to be hodling Bitcoin, and she's also been appointed to the Senate Banking Committee. So, in that world of finance, we have a pro-Bitcoin holding senator. So that we see as very good news. And then the other good news story is that PayPal, last week, we saw the Visa CEO saying that they want to allow users to use Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies on their platform. PayPal, I think we already knew was doing that because people could buy there. And now PayPal saying later in 2021, it's coming very quickly here. People are going to be able to spend Bitcoin as money and pay vendors on their platform. And these changes are coming quick. Anyhow, your response to those stories?
Yeah, I'll work bottom to up from the ones you described. And the PayPal one, that one is huge, I think, because I have PayPal. I've used PayPal in the past, buying as an exchange, or you doing peer-to-peer, peer-to-peer, I almost said, but peer-to-peer, you could send Bitcoin. But 26 million different vendors, being able to be paid in Bitcoin by PayPal. Yeah, I think the dominoes just keep falling in Bitcoin's favor. And the funny part is that who was it? Somebody mentioned that from PayPal that he still doesn't really believe and understand PayPal or Bitcoin, but he made the note that he would be doing it, that they would be making this transition, because I think they do see to the future of it. So that was cool. As for the other two stories that you described, little visitor here. No big deal. We're professionals, for goodness sakes.
Hey, we're family. We're family men here at the Bitcoin 15.
Yeah. I didn't really know who this individual was. I'll take a deeper dive into the center that you're discussing. But of course, they're from Wyoming, a very progressive state of Wyoming, jumping in and making that. But it does speak well for Bitcoin when you are part of a banking committee like that. And then good for the German guy for holding on. Like, what leverage does that guy hold as, like, come get me, coppers? Like, I'm holding the keys. Throw me in jail, but like, you're not getting this. You're not going to get this. So, yeah, I thought it was a good, bold strategy. Let's see if it pays off.
Yeah, they said that they've insured, the story said that the authorities have ensured that he will not be able to access those Bitcoins either. So that makes me think, is it a hardware wallet that he won't give up the password to? So he'll never be able to, and if that's the case, it's in cold storage on a hardware wallet. Maybe he'll never, then he really can't get, but if it's a digital wallet, I don't see how they can ensure that. If then once he serves his time, pays his debt to society, he gets out, he's got his password, he's rich, but it must be a hardware wallet if they can ensure that. I wish the story would give more details. The one thought I had on the senator from Wyoming story is the story says she's the first known senator who is pro Bitcoin or holds Bitcoin. And I think there's a lot of closeted Congress people, senators, congressmen and women that are holding this stuff. If they're smart at all to see what's going on, what they themselves are a part of in printing all this money, they got to have at least a few of them must be secretly closeted, pro Bitcoin too. But still, her being open about it is a huge win, especially when she's been appointed to this banking committee. And then I think you said everything that would need to be said on PayPal. So let's roll into the bad. What do you got on the one story we saw as bad this week?
Nigeria making processing of crypto transactions by their member banks illegal. Again, just going back to like the India, the China, it was for a while Pakistan, just the government restrictions on Bitcoin or the different cryptocurrencies really hampering their their citizens, and we just saw it as another bad government enforcement of a currency or an asset that's not supposed to have any kind of government intervention. So that was my perspective from the bad. What do you think?
So I think we tend to do this whenever we have these bad stories, is that I try to spin it into something good anyhow, because we're clearly so pro Bitcoin. And yes, I do see this as bad because I think in the long run, they'll probably have to change course, just like we were saying. Hopefully India would change course too when they see, but they want to ban this stuff. Their central bank does, because they know their central bank's issued currency is going to lose out to something that holds value way better, like Bitcoin. So that's why they try to ban this. But meanwhile, the good news is Nigeria ranks second in the world in peer-to-peer Bitcoin transaction volume, according to the tweet from Documenting Bitcoin where we got this story from. But I didn't do your own research to back that up. But I've said in the past, I think in episode 1, actually, we talked about how in many African countries, and then we've learned about South America too, people are turning to Bitcoin and crypto as a better store of value than their fiat currencies that are locally issued. And the good news with Bitcoin or any of these cryptos is if you have an internet connection and a wallet, you don't need the central banking system to operate. You can still do peer-to-peer transactions. And so even though this is a loss for people to use a bank to help them store their Bitcoin, they can still, if they take care to do it with their own digital wallet or hardware wallet and look after it, they can still go on even without their central bank's approval. Now, they may try to block that, but that's going to be impossible to enforce. So the people of Nigeria can still find a way around this, I think. It's actually, I think, a less strict law than what was being proposed in India, where they were actually going to try to say doing that is still illegal, even though I don't think that will be enforced either. But that's my spin zone on that bad story. I mean, do you see it the same, or I don't know? We're both kind of guessing.
It's guessing, but I also think, like I mentioned, Pakistan made it illegal to mine, and then they came back and now are backing government mining, investments, mining companies. So like, I think they'd set them back in the short term, but stuff can easily be changed. They could theoretically be changed in later this month. So I mean, nothing is for sure. Nothing is a constant except for Bitcoin. But I think that set them back in the short term for sure. Hopefully not for the long term.
Okay. Well, why don't you lead us off here with our interesting story, like our story of the week. Tell
Yeah.
us what was going on with Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy this week.
Yeah, so Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy held a big conference. We alluded to it last week. I kind of made a bullish remark that I thought Bitcoin would be at 45,000 for Bitcoin, and I was like, we're almost there. We're trending in the right direction. Then it took a slight dip. Still doing better than what it was earlier in the week.
We hovered in the 30s, just as I made my bold prediction, right? Yeah.
We hovered in the 30s. You're right. But it was a place that other C-levels, directors, other people of finance to come and just learn about Bitcoin and walk through the micro, the macroeconomics of it, kind of the envision how they see it and how they're doing it today at MicroStrategy. They had 1,400, I believe, register. I think 1,000 or 1,100 confirmed that showed up. For sure. I take a look at the numbers there, or do your own research, people, like you mentioned. A big one was a SpaceX director. Back in December 20th, 2020, Elon kind of tweeted, like, can you do, paraphrasing, but like, can you do kind of bulk buys of Bitcoin? And then Michael Saylor is like, yeah, actually I bought 1.3 billion this last year. Like, I can show you how. And then what do you know, his senior director of finance or whatever his title was showed up. I believe his name was Richard Lee. With all that being said, I kind of just it was an all day, I think an all two days. I mean, there's multiple hours. If people really want to take a look at it, they could go to we could throw it in the description, just the MicroStrategy YouTube page. They're in depth, they're long. They are, if you're like me, you'll constantly be pausing and kind of like writing down and re-listening to it. I always throw up the annotation as people are speaking, just so I could hear it and read it to have a better comprehension when they're talking about it, because it's something that we're not C-levels, like, right? We're not thinking about capital. We're not thinking about investments like that, but it was good to listen to. And the conversation that I really listened to in detail and kind of went back and forth and listening to it and kind of making notes was the macro strategy of Bitcoin, and this conversation with a guy named Stephen Ross, who's a friend of his, was the CEO of a Stone Ridge. Basically, they're a risk management company. And there was a lot of notes from there. They kind of had broken down to the description of like how they were going to discuss kind of the different topics of the Bitcoin as an emergent dominant monetary network, the pros and cons, the macroeconomic outlooks of it, history of Bitcoin and development for the next year. Those are kind of like the framework of mine. But even as I listened to it, I was like, man, this is just, I was trying to write as much as I could to comprehend for my own self, and maybe I could regurgitate it to, the thousands of listeners that will probably click onto this later. But it was like a sneak peek into, like, this is how I felt. And maybe I'd like to get your reaction too, but we're average Joes, we're non-finance people, but it was like, we're able to sit at a table with people who think differently than we do, that we should maybe be thinking more like, and like everybody's supposed to run their house, or they should, from my perspective, run their house almost like a business. This is how business people are running their business, and how they're looking at crypto and are looking at Bitcoin. And like he comes out the bat just saying, Bitcoin is not volatile. Things are becoming cheaper in Bitcoin, college, real estate. And that like sparked my mind of, yeah, you're right. Like, it is becoming cheaper. You can buy it now and it just keeps going up in price. He just says so much stuff. And one of them, because I know I'm going long here, but there was so much good information. He talks about cost of energy, and like that's a big concern of like, well, doesn't Bitcoin take a lot of energy to do? Kind of breaks it down into the energy of like humans being energy, and we could now locate people wherever. We don't have to be concentrated to these large areas. And electricity can only go roughly 500 miles, where you could harness electricity or harness energy anywhere, clean energy, and use it for mining, use it for blockchain, not just for Bitcoin, but you could use blockchain and other technologies can leverage, blockchain technology. So it was very eye-opening to me. And he does talk about, like, I know we always say it could always go back to zero. It could always go back to zero. And I know I'm going long here, but kind of the last thing I want to say is, he goes, well, no, it's much like Christianity. It's kind of like not going anywhere. Like, the cat's out of the bag. And I was like, oh, it's so funny that we label one of our conversations like the Bitcoin as a religion, because he talked about, like, it's not going back to zero. The chapter one was the basis, the evaluation, the stemming of the roots for like of a bamboo shoot. Now we're in chapter 2. Now we're the bamboo. After it spends years establishing the root system and structure, it shoots up 60 feet in a couple of weeks. Like it was very eye-opening for me to kind of listen to somebody talk about it. So I would go back if I was just an average Joe, and I would, if you're still hesitant on just investing a little bit into Bitcoin, go back and listen to these guys, because this is like the 1%ers. These are like the hedge funds, for going back to the GameStop too. Like this is a sneak peek into how they view Bitcoin from a business standpoint, that people, the average Joe could, take a small percentage of their portfolio and mirror this and kind of sit back and watch it, because it's not going anywhere from their perspective. And I know I just went long, but it was just such great information. I think I just rambled for 6 minutes.
Impressive. We're becoming one. We're becoming one another. Yeah. Spend too much. Well, anyhow. So my takeaway from the story is, a lot of the stuff you said there, it sounds like these are guys that are way smarter than you and me. A lot of the conversation will be over our head, but I think you made some good points there about how there's some takeaways that people like us still can take away. That's a practical attitude towards this new asset class of cryptocurrency, and specifically Bitcoin, and how we can be good for people that aren't just running these huge corporations or hedge funds or whatever. So I think that's worth checking out. If you want to get really into the weeds, we'll provide the link to some of the discussions Peder's talking about. But yeah, the other takeaway I think is just like, hey, Michael Saylor's kind of leading a movement that is going to continue this institutional adoption, which continues to build up the basement of what that price can be. We've talked before that we don't see it ever really going below 20,000, maybe even more aggressively 25,000. As this continues to happen, that basement keeps rising. And that's my takeaway from him. Like, so maybe we didn't shoot up to 45 like you predicted yet, but the basement's going to keep rising, because everyone's going to have that target where they have like limit orders in place. If it dips to a certain point, these corporations are going to buy it up because of the reasons, because Michael Saylor is starting to build a following. Anyhow, I think we should probably wrap, because we're once again not hitting our target. We're maybe getting closer, but we're still going long. But this is going to be my reminder. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Tell your friends. If you have friends, a lot of families watching, I know. So family and friends, tell your other friends if they're interested in this topic about our channel. We'd appreciate that. And leave a comment too on stuff you'd love for us to cover. And we're also excited to announce we're going to release a new video series from this channel. We're calling it B15 Basics. It's going to come out this Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we're going to continue that for a few weeks in a row. And then eventually we'll maybe just go to once a week. But B15 Basics, real quick summary of what they are, is they're going to be about 3-minute long videos. And trust me, we're way better at hitting that time target, I think, than these 15-minute ones. Just quick little, like the first episode is what is Bitcoin, and I give a quick summary of what Bitcoin is. The second episode will be what is a fiat currency. That's a term you may have heard us use. Third episode is going to be what is a Satoshi, another term we use. And then there'll be more episodes that come the next week. So Peder and I are really excited about these and hope to give a little educational background side of some of the terms we use commonly on this channel. So that launches Tuesday night. And anyhow, thanks for being with us. Peder, last word, I'll give it to you.
Oh man. What's the last word? The last word is Bitcoin is not going anywhere. So buy in now.
Appreciate it. All right.
All right. Safe
See everybody next week. Yep. See ya.